This week on The Beautiful 90, Liverpool deliver a statement win against the current champions.
Salah's taken the PFA.
It's going on. I think he might even take the Ballon d'Or. Arsenal seem back to their very best.
My word, Bukayo Saka, what a player.
United produce a comfortable win under Ruben Amorim's first home game. When it comes down to it, United might have to choose between the two. And Chelsea pick apart a hungover Villa side. I was thinking, this man is outclassed. Like, these guys are out. They're a level above him. Stick around for the greatest football show on the internet. Hello people, my name's Samuel. Welcome back to The Beautiful 90, the show that dives into the biggest narratives in English football. I'm joined again by my co-hosts. We got Reece and we got Mr. LDP. So guys, it's been a great week of fixtures. We're going to start off with the biggest game of the weekend. It was Liverpool versus Man City. So Reece, as a Liverpool fan, what are your first thoughts on that?
I have never seen Man City play that bad in like a long time, to be honest with you. I mean, like normally Man City, they're really, what's the word I'm going to say, like calculated with what like the passing, like even like the possession game. But in that game, they're making the wrong passes and Liverpool are closing them down. They're getting the ball before they even get there.
I think they look technically knackered that game.
Yeah.
That's the best way to describe it, which is weird because Pep, like we were saying last week, usually has all the ideas.
Yeah.
But now, like for the first time in, I think, ever across Barcelona, Bayern and Man City, he genuinely looks like he's out of ideas.
He's done, yeah. Like they literally had like one shot.
And even then, that first shot didn't come until the 30th minute.
Yeah.
A City side couldn't get a shot off on goal until 30 minutes in, and even then it was off target.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy.
They look like a normal team, and it's so weird to see like the aura's gone from the sky blue tops. They look like a team that anyone can beat.
Do you think it's safe to say that City are definitely out the title race now?
Last week, I remember I was still saying like they're gonna find a way. It's City. They do City things, but this doesn't feel like a City team that does City things.
Finished, yeah. And everyone's thinking you're going to get sacked in the morning for a reason because like, how's he doing that? Like that's not Pep of him to be losing.
We saw something a bit uncharacteristic of Pep where he put the six fingers up.
Six, yeah.
He was rising to the banter as well.
Yeah,
like,
but you've never
under his skin.
You've never seen him like lose composure like that or lose his head in that sort of way.
Thing is, though, I'm still not overseeing like. Obviously, we didn't speak about it last week, but obviously the damage he did to himself after the
like, scratches on his nose.
That's crazy. Like you're genuinely concerned for him.
Yeah,
right?
He's losing it a little bit. Man.
Beyond passion, like that is, yeah.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it was an easy, comfortable win for Slot side, and I think you haven't seen historically City versus Liverpool has always been this like clash of the titans sort of game, but this was the first time it was like so one-sided, and it was crazy to see that for the first time.
Yeah, like we should have been like 4-0 up in the first half if Van Dijk could put his chances away or anyone else, but all over him. I couldn't believe what I was watching.
Yeah, speaking of Van Dijk, he had an amazing game. I think definitely has to be man of the match in that game.
Didn't even let Haaland breathe.
Shut him down.
Like
completely shut him down.
Yeah, unreal.
But the thing is, like with Haaland, he's supposed to be the best goal scorer that the Premier League's ever seen, right? But consistently, when he comes up against like these world-class defenders, your Salibas, Gabriels, Rudigers, Van Dijks, he always seems like he's outclassed. Like, is that something you expect from the greatest striker of Premier League history, as some people claim that he is?
Thing is, I don't want to judge him too harshly and use this season as the standard, because this season is a blip compared to what he's normally had. And still, as we mentioned, despite Man City being as atrocious as they are by their standards this season, he's still on 12 goals in 13 games.
He's still leading.
But as you're right, in previous seasons as well, we've seen that he does seem to struggle against the biggest of hitters.
Yeah, exactly.
But I don't know, man. I think flat trap bully is a phrase that gets lobbied around a little bit too easily. I think there's bigger issues in City's squad right now than Haaland, in my opinion. I think the fact that he's not getting goals is a symptom of the other problems more than him being the problem. Yeah. That's my thoughts.
It's not relying on him as well to be scoring all the goals, like Foden. He's not scored a single goal yet in the league. Silva, he hasn't. So you can't put all the pressure on him.
That's another player that I wanted to like kind of shine a light on was Foden, because last season being PFA Player of the Year and then this season just completely ghosting. In my opinion, he can't get away with that. No. Like, it looks like last season was maybe a blip compared to the rest of his career, because he seems he's a bit too passive in games, where he just lets the game go past him when he's like the more senior guy at Manchester City. He should be grabbing games by the scruff of the neck, sort of, instead of just letting it go past him. So what do you think's in store for him? Do you think he is going to rise back to that level, or was last season just some sort of kind of one season wonder for him?
I mean, it depends. Like, Palmer got the PFA Player of the Year this year, hasn't he? and it's kind of like he's had that season before winning that, where he was at Chelsea and Man City in the same season.
I think,
but
you know who Foden thinks he is? I think that's actually Palmer.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I was saying that last season and I got slated by so many people.
Yeah.
I do want to tell a little story here, and I hope that these guys are watching. My old job, I got slated.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sam, this one's going to hurt you a little bit. But I got slated for saying that Chelsea were going to have a better season than Villa this season.
Yeah, it's not ridiculous to say that now though, right?
But I was adamant about it. I was like, people like Cole Palmer are that good, and I'd be fascinated to see what Cole Palmer could do in this current City side. I think it'd be so interesting, because I think Foden is a brilliant on-the-ball player in terms of his dribbling ability, the way that he creates space for himself.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's the best of passers, in my opinion. I think he's clearly good at passing. But if we're putting it on a graph or something like that, that's not
He's
his
at an
strength.
acceptable standard, but he's nothing like
definitely
special.
better than acceptable standard. Like, he's a better passer than the average Premier League midfielder is,
Yeah,
for sure.
100%, yeah, I'd
but
agree with that.
he's not spraying passes a la Odegaard or Fernandes or Palmer, or even trying to think of James Ward-Prowse, for example. He's not spraying. I know it's a terrible comparison, completely different positions.
But like, you're saying like a range of
his range of
pass.
passing isn't amazing for Foden. I think that's one of the things that's holding them back now when it comes to chance creation. Because one of the things that people like Bernardo Silva and De Bruyne were able to do was whether that's short passes for link-up play or a pass that changes the dynamic of the game, and I don't think you see enough of those from Foden.
The thing is with Foden, like his game is just very much like picking up these half spaces and pockets of spaces and getting a good touch in and producing some like a banger, let's say, or just hit it in from outside the box. But when you come up against these big teams, so when you come up against like Liverpool, Arsenal, where it's very intense and you can't even get like that split second on the ball, his game is kind of found out in a way. So like he can't produce what he produces against, say last season against United when he scored a hat-trick. Because that United team was obviously so like lackadaisical. They gave him the time and space to do what he wanted. Whereas like against this Liverpool team who are striving for the title, he could not do anything. And that seems to be the common theme of this season. Like they've kind of picked up that he wants that extra second in the half space, and they just latch onto him and he can't do nothing about it. So I think he really needs to change his game and be a bit more like proactive rather than reactive.
I think there's so many layers as to why things are going wrong with City, though, because like we've been saying, you could basically point to any player in their squad right now and be able to point flaws in the way they're playing. But I think it's definitely something systemic, but I think, honestly, it comes back down to, like we were saying last week, their base of midfield is atrocious. It's non-existent.
Yeah.
And people like Gravenberch were able to exploit that like crazy. The amount of space he was in for most of that game.
Yeah.
Because there's no one holding down the back of the Man City midfield.
Yeah.
So all you're getting is just a gap where the defenders are being exposed, and then they're all messing up as well. Don't get me wrong. There's way too many mistakes for people like Diaz to be acceptable at the level that they were at and the standard you expect from them.
Did you see how they were playing out the back? That was not the Man City that I know. That was not Man City at all. Like
I was watching you guys.
Ouch. But yeah, literally, like they kept losing the ball. I think for when Luis Diaz won the penalty, literally Ruben Diaz just gave it straight to Darwin Núñez, let Luis Diaz run straight onto goal. That is not City at all. Like they never do anything like that.
And even the keeper under pressure, just like booting it out, like no options.
Exactly. So it makes you think, what's the problem in a sense? Because it was Ruben Diaz who made that bad pass, and he's supposed to be one of the main guys there. Yeah. So you're kind of thinking, obviously, you can blame the manager, you can blame maybe the tactics, but Ruben Diaz he's a solid Man City player who's won so much with them, and even he's making mistakes. Do you just maybe think it's morale at the club? Maybe they've got burnout from winning everything over the last 8 years? Because I think that's what it is. They're just burnt out from winning too much. It happens.
You say that, and obviously Pep said that a top team can't keep it up for, like 10 or so years. But when you look at what Man United done, and they were doing like three-peats of the Premier League, and it's only like Arsenal or Chelsea that managed to win the league in that certain time from like 93 to 2013, and you think, you can keep it up still, but it's just thinking of what can you do in order to keep it up and stay that dominant.
But one thing I'm just going to say before I go too far down the tangent, I think that Man U squad, for as amazing as they were, they did massively benefit from the fact that no one else could compete, whereas City don't have that luxury. City have yourselves, for example. Yeah. They have an Arsenal who are consistently pushing them. They've got a Chelsea who are, obviously I'm not saying we're in title contention or anything like that, but they've got
you're on your way there, though.
Yeah, you've got squads like us who make you have to keep on upping your game. For Man U in the 90s, after Nottingham dropped off or had their blip season, after Newcastle's and whatever else
dropped off. You had Leeds at that time as well.
Don't get me wrong, but once 95 is past, you have Arsenal who, don't get me wrong, they're pushing them, But during that time, it was only Arsenal for those like 5 years who were next to them. And then after that, you get Chelsea emerging.
Chelsea. Yeah. Liverpool were there, here and there.
Here and there.
Like,
They finished second in 2001 and so on. So obviously Liverpool were constantly pushing around. But I don't think Man U ever had the level of competition and consistency that City had to face.
But isn't that just like a testament to their dominance, though, rather than...
I think that's a testament to Man City's dominance in the last 10 years.
Yeah, but Man City have always had a team that's pushed them. So you had Liverpool pushing them. You had that Arsenal team last season pushing them. I feel like the fabric of that club, they're just fatigued. And then they can't carry on anymore.
But you know what? I still want to say, as much as I don't even like saying this, take nothing away, Liverpool were imperious.
Yeah.
They proved everything that they've been trying to aim for this season so far. And at this point, I don't think there is any doubt Liverpool takes the title.
I feel like at the start of the season where Liverpool was stringing together like good performances, people were like, they haven't been tested yet.
Yeah.
Like they haven't had the big test yet, but in the last 3-4 weeks...
They've answered everyone.
Yeah, I was
They've
going to say,
answered
like, that
every single
screenshot
test.
that was going about where it's like Liverpool's 10 runs, like the next 10 runs, and we've got like Brighton twice, Madrid,
Madrid,
Leverkusen,
City.
and we drew one of them and won all the rest.
Came through brilliant.
And the only team that managed to score like more than a goal against us was Southampton. And it's like, how are you putting numbers up? Like,
But you still got the 3
I was
points.
going to say, like, we're keeping clean sheets against Madrid
Exactly.
and City, and it's like, I don't think Klopp could have done that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Like, I do not think that in them runs of games, I feel like Klopp wouldn't have been able to like get a better result than Slaughters.
But the thing is with Liverpool, like just historically, they've been just such a well-run club. Like they always make the right decisions. They never like give in to pressure or like media pressure. They always make the right appointments, and the fans kind of stick by what the board want to do. But yeah, after that game, Liverpool go 9 points clear, and City dropped to 5th. Like we have never actually seen anything like this.
Salah's taken the PFA. It's going on.
I think he might even take the Ballon d'Or, depending how the season goes. Because who's actually
right,
competing with
he
him?
deserves it. Like we need to put him in the goal debate now. Like, he needs to be up there.
Yeah, because remember the slander when he first came onto the scene.
Like
he gets numbers,
day,
but he looks ugly whilst doing it. Like, do you know what I mean? And the people are kind of biting their tongues now.
Yeah, you heard that when I got a hair transplant.
Yeah, but like now he's got what's the stats here? 80 goals and assists against a big six.
Yeah. Big game player.
And he's been involved in over 61% of Liverpool's goals since he joined the club. So like, over half of Liverpool's goals come through him.
And that's a club playing at the elite level for the last 10
Yeah.
years.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
At what point can you deny that is absolutely elite, that is contending?
Like, who else can put up them numbers constantly each season when you're getting over 20 goals and assists? Like,
Ronaldo and Messi.
Yeah, apart from them two. That's why he needs to be in the debate.
That. Like, he's on the same level as like a prime Neymar. I'd say.
Yeah.
Like they've had that same impact on world football. But Salah recently, in the last like couple of seasons, he's got into his playmaking bag almost. Like
Trevella passes that he's pulling out
when he hits
recently.
that Trevella, you know it's gonna be a goal.
The assist for that first goal was beautiful.
Yeah, it was. That was a bit like Kevin De Bruyne-esque. Do you know what I mean? Just hit it straight through the channel, and someone was on the back post to receive it. And luckily this time it was Gakpo. Yeah. But Salah also could have had another goal. He missed a
really big opportunity, a one-on-one.
Was it the penalty as well? Am I wrong? I think
that was Madrid.
No, the penalty was against Madrid. He scored the penalty against City, but he missed the easy one-on-one against Ortega, which is not really what you expect from him. But 1 goal, 1 assist.
I was about to say, you can let him have a bit of slack. For
I was going to say, you can have a few misses considering what he gives, but he's unreal.
Yeah, that's
what
great.
A game that was.
It was so far the game of the season, I'd say. But moving on to another title contender, we've got Arsenal versus West Ham, which was, I believe, the highest scoring first half of football in the Premier League, 7 goals in one half.
One of them, yeah.
Yeah,
and then nothing in the second half, which is a bit boring. It's such a mixtape, ain't it?
Yeah, but they've done their damage by then, so it's kind of like they kind of took the foot off the gas a little bit and just carried on going about the game. And in that game, there's 5 different scorers.
I didn't realise.
Yeah, so obviously at the heart of that team, once again, was Martin Odegaard. And you know how I feel about Martin Odegaard. Like, he doesn't get the praise that he deserves as far as I'm concerned. But he was back, he's pulling the strings. Like, watching that Arsenal game is kind of like watching that Arsenal that you recognise almost, because they lost it for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then now they're back again to it, where they're scoring 5 against, do you know what I mean, just a random average Premier League team. No disrespect to West Ham.
I'd say a little bit of disrespect to West Ham. Yeah.
But West Ham, they're not having the best of seasons.
No, without a doubt, like, there is a big element of the fact that West Ham aren't playing up to the standards that they thought they'd be pushing towards at the moment after
Moyes,
obviously the cup, exactly that, with Moyes, the Conference League run and all that. They thought they were going to keep kicking on. They haven't, clearly. They're not up to the standard they thought. They haven't replaced people well. And other people haven't really emerged into taking those spots either. But that aside, Arsenal showed up, proved again the difference that people at Odegaard are able to make in terms of transforming their cohesion as a club, the chemistry of the attack. And then they were just playing such fluid football.
Yeah.
It annoyed me to see it, how good they were. And it did, like I said, I was mentioning earlier before cameras were rolling, it made me revise my statement from last week. I still stand by what I said in terms of Chelsea's stature being as good as Arsenal at least, but my word, Bukayo Saka, what a player.
What a player.
What a guy.
He's like so effective. He's just super effective. And I think he's on 10 assists this season. Bear in mind, the Premier League record for one season is 20.
20, yeah.
All
He's
by De
halfway
Bruyne
there.
Terror. He's halfway there.
We're a third of the games in.
Yeah, do you reckon he beats it or?
No.
I was going to say, if De Bruyne can't even beat it, then there's no chance
You know what I'm
that
saying?
Saka's going to do it.
I think Henry put some juju on his record, bro.
Yeah.
If Fabregas can't break it, if De Bruyne can't break it, if Ozil can't break it after reaching 16 goals in a season, sorry, 16 assists by January in a season.
That was Giroud let him down though, kind of. that
was a
season. He
special
missed so
one.
much easy sitters and tap-ins.
But I think that record should have easily been broken already by now, but it won't be for whatever reason.
There seems to be a trend with that record where they start off super strong, they get like the first half of the season, the first half of the season, and then it just kind of falls off.
Peters away, it doesn't make any sense.
But one thing that Saka has over like De Bruyne and Henry is when he takes corners, it's such a high XG chance almost, because Arsenal off corners, they're one of the best teams. Yeah, I mean, and one person I want to talk about from this game is Gabriel. Like, is there a more surefire goal scorer from a set piece than Gabriel?
He's got a big head, bro.
Yeah.
Well, just mark him. Is it that hard? Like, not being funny, but like over the past few weeks now, we've seen what Arsenal can do with a set piece.
Yeah.
So it's like, and he scored like 3 and 4 games with
They
them.
need to bring Robert Huth out of retirement, stick him on it.
Yeah, exactly.
So literally, just literally glue yourself to him while you're marking him, and that should be solved.
The thing is, he's such a big, like, imposing presence, though. It's easier said than done, and I think
it's the fact that he combines athleticism with his physical stature, which is mental.
Exactly, and it's not just a physical thing. You have to know how to read the space to kind of win ahead, and he seems to have that like to a T. And I think he's Arsenal's high-scoring defender of like the modern Premier League era.
Yeah,
I can believe it. I didn't know, but I can believe
it goes to show like how effective he is from corners, but.
Having that as an avenue that's going to keep on bringing them goals this season, I think is going to be critical.
Yeah,
obviously, it saved them while Odegaard was out, but now if you've got genuine playmaking, genuine fluid attacking, as well as the fact that if it doesn't come off and it becomes a corner, you've probably got an avenue to go that way. I still think my top 4 remains the same, as I said, in terms of Arsenal finishing below Chelsea personally, but I think there's no doubt about it that Arsenal gets top 4.
Yeah, 100%.
In comparison to Liverpool, obviously, Arsenal have had a good few seasons, like just in the Premier alone, where they've been pushing for the title. But I think that personally, it's just more of a fact of that outside of the Premier League, they need a bit more in order to establish themselves better as a team. Like, you know, when Liverpool, obviously, for the past 7 years, we've been fighting with Man City. City have got trophies in Europe, they've got the Prem.
Yeah.
Liverpool have got Carabao Cups as well, they've got FA Cups, they've got... I was going to say, well, we'll get onto that with Chelsea in a bit, but like, you know, they've got the Carabao Cups, they've got the FA, they've got the Community.
Champions League, of course, as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, Arsenal only... They've really had the FA Cup.
That one FA Cup in Arteta's first or second season.
It's just, I feel like they need to be more dominant outside of the Premier League in order to...
They don't have the silverware to like back up their performances.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. And at the end of the day, people don't remember performances, they remember the silverware.
I was going to say, you're definitely right, because it kind of ties into the conversation we were talking about Liverpool last week, where it's like, you guys obviously... The people who know will still regard you as one of the greatest club sides of all time, but there isn't enough trophies behind that to back it. And for Arsenal to say that they've been in a rebuild for who knows how long, they need to get something that definitively says, we're as good as we compete at, we're as good as we want to be. And you're right, trophies go a long way to proving that. Champions League record says nothing for them. Last season, I don't remember who they went out in the FA Cup to, but it was like quarterfinals or something like that. But it's like, that used to be their... we used to mock them for it, but they were guaranteed at some point back in the day they were getting the FA Cup.
FA Cup's kind of lost its prestige though.
Maybe so, but one way or another, it goes in your record books that Kai Havertz has the only trophy he's won in England is Champions League. You know what I mean? And that's, that's 3.5 years ago now?
Yeah.
And for them, I think that's going to be the big thing for Arsenal. That will define their legacy, because this could be make or break the season as to whether they're even going to still be considered the upper echelon of the Premier League. And not just based on quality, based on the fact that other people win.
Yeah.
How much, like, I know we're on about Liverpool, but this is to do with Arsenal. Like, how much more seasons do you think Arteta can go without winning any silverware before people start to question, is he the man to take Arsenal to the next level?
I think as long as they don't regress too harshly, he'll be kept around purely because I think we were discussing this last week as well. Obviously, I think we're in a similar gap where players, we're seeing the end of the old guard of players, we're seeing the start of the new guard of players. I think we're in a similar place with managers.
Yeah.
I think there's only a handful of managers who are establishing themselves in that category in the same way that an Enrique did 10 years ago, or a Pep did 15 years ago, or a Jose did 20 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think we're still waiting for those clear managers to come out and say who defensively would be better than Arteta, because right now,
right now I can't even think of anyone to take that space.
So I think based on that, he's safe, especially while Arsenal don't regress any further, and they seem to have recovered whatever regression they were going through at the start of this season as well. So as long as they can continue that, I think he'll be all right.
But then is that not reflective of Arsenal saying like, oh, we're really complacent with just getting second place all the time? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they need to sort it out.
Is when is like second too much? Like when do you have to cut it off? And say we need
or when do you need
I still stand by it. This man on the back of my shirt, I got love for him, but he's not good enough. He's not going to do it. I'm joking. I jest. But in all seriousness, I still stand by it. I think Havertz is going to be a great squad player. I just don't think that having him up front is going to be the long-term solution. And I think until they do answer that and then find a way to use Havertz possibly alongside them, I don't know if there's space for that alongside Odegaard and Saka and whoever plays on the left wing.
Yeah.
Is there enough spaces or whatever? But I think they just need to get a system that actually makes sense instead of having these hybrid systems.
Yeah, 100%.
I think that's where their limitations are.
Yeah, 100%. And speaking of managers who are under threat, West Ham's manager, Lopetegui, I mean...
His reputation's taken non-stop hits since he came to England.
Yeah, like he was lucky to win that game against Ten Hag, where literally it was between Ten Hag and him. Whoever won that game was going to keep their job, and unfortunately Ten Hag lost. So that kind of saved him a little bit.
Should have both been sacked.
Yeah, they really should have. But West Ham, every season, it's like they're a London club and they're going to kick on and they're going to start, you know...
Brentford's a better club than West Ham.
I was going to say, they're doing really good
Like
right
they
now,
always
yeah.
make these like big signings, or they appoint a manager that no one thought they were going to appoint, and they buy a new stadium, whatever it may be, but then they just seem to fall every single time. They sell Declan Rice for 150 million. It's like, okay, now we got some money, now we're going to kick on. And they never do. Like, they're always stuck in this like limbo of mid-table Premier League relegation fighting, but they're too established to go down.
Yeah, like that's the thing. They're safe in terms of they're never going to get relegated, and they're clearly better than Crystal Palace. But imagine if they'd have brought in, I've forgotten his name. Is it Glasner at Crystal Palace, the manager?
Yeah.
Imagine if West Ham had brought in someone like that, sort of manager who actually has ambition.
I think West Ham were linked with Amorim, weren't they? Was it Amorim or Slot? It was one of the two.
Oh, Tottenham was linked with Slot. So
Slot, it might have been Amorim, so...
But they're lacking ambition. I think that is the key thing for West Ham. They've, like you said, they sold Declan Rice, brought in 100 mil. And don't go, James Ward-Prowse, I think, was actually quite a smart signing in theory, but I don't think they recruited adequately.
I think he was a safe signing. I don't think...
Yeah.
He didn't get anyone out of their seats. Like, you can't really complain with the James Ward-Prowse, but at the same time, it shows kind of a lack of ambition.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that they didn't adequately replace at the base of midfield.
Yeah.
They lost... I was about to think of the wrong team. I was about to say Fulham's with Palhinha, but they lost, obviously, Declan Rice, as we mentioned. They didn't adequately replace at the base of midfield. They've known for years that Mikel Antonio's been declining, and they messed up their previous striker signing to replace it, and they weren't particularly ambitious this time around either.
Yeah.
And I just think they're at a place where it's like the board seems to have no clue of how they want to push the club forward. As a result of that, they're bringing in managers who have no ambition and aren't really pushing the club any further forward. So they're basically going to stay safe until they're not.
Yeah, so I mean, you look at clubs like Liverpool, who sold Luis Suarez and Coutinho for God knows how much, hundreds of millions.
Stupid money, yeah.
And then with that money, they reinvested it into the club. They bought in Alisson, Van Dijk, Salah, Mane, just to name a few, do you know what I mean?
And then obviously the next year, also afterwards, obviously people like Wijnaldum start coming in.
Yeah.
People who were, at the time, we were thinking, maybe, but it's a really smart
Turned out to be
signing.
really good, yeah. Even like maybe Matip, players like that, yeah. And
getting rid of people like Dejan Lovren and what was the other guy? Not Skirtle. Well, phasing Skirtle
what's
out.
his name? The Estonian guy?
The Estonian dude's I'm thinking of,
Yes. His name's getting... It's on the tip of my tongue.
But literally that
Yeah.
Klavan, Ragnar Klavan.
Yeah, Klavan, I think it is.
But yeah, they got sensible. They started getting rid of the players who are holding you back, who have no further way to go.
Yeah.
And West Ham just aren't doing it.
Yeah.
Just not doing it.
Yeah, I mean, Liverpool are lucky to have done that, but
But I think you're right though. The pedigree. I think we could probably start a counter, like game by game, at which like, how long until he gets sacked.
Yeah, exactly. Put a countdown on the screen from today.
Or just like a tally. He survived another week.
Yeah. We're going to talk about United versus Everton. Well, not Chelsea versus Villa yet. I saved the best for last. But United versus Everton. This is Ruben Amorim's first home game at Old Trafford, and it was a comfortable win by all accounts against the Everton side, who, on paper, based on their profile, looked like they should, give up a fight, put up a fight against a big team. But it was just too easy for United.
The same as last week. And when I said if Manu would have won against Ipswich, it would have been only Ipswich. And I think this week it's been the same. Like it's only Everton. Like they've been fighting relegation for like the last 3 or 4 years. Like there's nothing that special of a team. They're saying that the new stadium is going to be the best one in the Championship, so like that's their status. So for Man U to beat them, it's nothing that deep.
Yeah, before we go into United, I just want to say with Everton, like they have like a reputation of being like a stonewall English side, no nonsense, and then you bring in Sean Dyche, who's also like a no nonsense, Brexit football, put the ball in the back of the net type of manager, and then you put them together, you think it'd be like a perfect marriage and everything would crack on, but it just hasn't. Like they're losing every single game, they can't get goals, they can't even defend, which is what Sean Dyche kind of prides himself on.
To at least be solid, they're not even that.
I mean, like looking at the stats, United had an XG of 1, so they should have only scored 1 goal, but they ended up scoring 4. And that's not really like characteristic of a Sean Dyche side.
Yeah, like really sloppy defending from Everton's behalf. I think that's what let them down massively.
They're beating too easy. Even the goals that they conceded, I mean...
just Amjad, the way he was pressing them, they get the ball and then he'd just stand there and before you could even think about what to do, he was there and that's what got him the goal.
Well, what I think is that they kind of underestimated him because he's so small in stature. They kind of thought, like Tarkowski, one of the chances where he lost the ball, I feel like in Tarkowski's head he was thinking, I'm Tarkowski, I'm massive, but no one's going to tackle me, especially like Amad Diallo, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then before he knows it, Diallo's just nipping at his feet,
stood right in front of him,
and counter-attacks. But Diallo, what a player he looks at the moment, literally. Really he's at the heart of 3 of the United goals. And I think he walked away with 2 assists that game.
I think, oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
2 assists.
Every single game that Amad's playing at the moment is just simply, it feels like a bigger and bigger mirror to Ten Hag. What were you thinking?
Yeah,
leaving this guy
Anthony.
out. Yeah. You know what I mean? Consistently choosing Anthony ahead of Amad.
Yeah.
Even bringing in Anthony while Amad was already on the books. I appreciate obviously a manager doesn't always know what they've got when they come into a new club.
Yeah.
But Amad, while even under Ten Hag, especially afterwards, at no point did he do anything other than prove again and again that he should be starting, and now he's returning.
He showed glimpses in the FA Cup and in different Europa League matches and stuff that he could be the player that United needed. And what I've realised that United fans, they kind of have this soft spot for him, where he's like the little protege that's at the club, and they want him to succeed. And under Amorim, he's really thriving. And I feel like compared to who else do they have in that position? They have Anthony and.
Depending on if you want to put Garnacho on the right.
Garnacho, but I feel like he's really made that position his own, and I feel like going forward, that's going to be Diallo's position. But looking at the score sheet, it was 2 goals from Xerxes and 2 goals from Rashford. 2 players who people had doubts about.
2 players who needed those goals.
Yeah, 100%.
Xerxes maybe less so than Rashford. I think Rashford in particular, obviously after the last 2 seasons he's had, coming off of one monstrous season, then in one to which was completely abject. I think Rashford needs to have a season this year which just proves that he should be at Man U, that he should be still in the next phase of their evolution. I
feel like the competition for the number 9 spot at United is really fierce right now.
In a good way, which is...
In a good way. It could push them to do the absolute best. And
removing my personal biases out of it, I think it's really interesting to see, because I do firmly believe Højlund has a really bright future as a Premier League striker.
I believe out of all of them, Højlund probably has the highest ceiling.
I agree. But I find it fascinating watching people like Xerxes, because he reminds me of, and let me land on this one, he reminds me of a Fellaini if you added technical ability to it.
I would have said Firmino, but not as skillful, the same.
I think ironically, somewhere between those 2 players is probably where he fits in. He's got a big physical presence, don't get me wrong, he's obviously a big lad, big stocky guy in the middle. And he can use that physicality, and he does do that well as well. But he really has some good vision, some good identifying of spaces, decent little short passing range as well. I don't think he'll ever become a pure number 9 because he doesn't seem to be that kind of player. But he strikes me as a really good 10.5 kind of player.
One criticism that I heard about Xerxes from United fans is he plays like he's high. Like I don't know if you've heard that before, but United fans that I surround myself with have said, have made that point to me, and I kind of know what they mean because he's just so.
I'm going
relaxed.
racial profiling.
I mean, he's
Dutch,
yeah, he's from
Dutch.
Amsterdam, yeah. But he's just like so relaxed, and there's no sort of like urgency to his game. He's just happy to just kind of let it go past him.
A
and
nonchalant
just,
kind of thing,
nonchalant. But United fans, it really frustrates them because you've got this guy who's like 6'4", massive, and like a big athletical presence.
Needs to be terror in the defence kind of thing.
Yeah, but he's playing like Paul Pogba in terms of he's just lackadaisical. He's just relaxed into the game. And I think, especially if you're playing in the Premier League, you have to have some level of intensity. Even if your game is just, relaxed and make it look good and sexy and whatnot, you have to be able to turn that switch on and become tenacious when the game calls for you to be.
Saying that, and that is one thing I will give Havertz some praise for, because I remember that was the accusation levied at him for the entirety of his first 2.5 years at Chelsea, was that he let the game pass by, he seemed like a passenger, or he didn't have the right intensity, body language was wrong, all the same kind of things that they levelled at people like Dimitar Berbatov, saying that they don't seem to have the passion for the game or whatever else. And I think it's a fine balance, because some people, similar to, maybe not Ozil being a good example here, but certain players, their pace will change the way that the game is played. The pace of the game will move around them, and then they'll get better at balancing their intensity with being able to slow the game down in the way that they want it to. And maybe there's an element of learning for that, because it doesn't happen overnight. It takes some time to get up to the speed of the Premier League, and then to be able to impose your style onto it as well. And fingers crossed for Xerxes that that's the kind of thing that it will be for him.
Yeah, one thing I noticed about Xerxes is he's a very high IQ player. Like he wants to take that extra touch, which sometimes you don't really get in the Prem because obviously the intensity of the league. But when you give him that extra touch, he can make a pass like he did the one that he made to Diallo that set up Rashford's second goal, I think, and just stuff like that. So if Amorim can find a way to set up a system where he can get that extra split second, get that extra touch in, I think we can really see the best of him. Yeah. Especially if he links up with the likes of Højlund in strike and they can get a connection going between them two, then they could be one of the best 1-2 punches in the Premier League. That's
what I was mentioning some of this to my brother when we were discussing the restructuring of the formation, obviously moving into a 3-back roughly. Obviously that gives you the freedom to either have 3 forwards or to have a 10 and 2 forwards, or 2 10s and a forward, whatever the setup might be. That's the one I imagine they'll probably end up settling on. It's like a dynamic front 3 that they can have going on. Where you then got almost like a diamond or a box rather between your 6s and your 10s operating there. I think that's probably what will allow them, if they were going to use Xerxes in that way as one of those 10s, to then allow to have Fernandes dovetailing around that, linking up between the base of the midfield into the attack. One problem I see with that though is if you play Xerxes, Fernandes and Diallo, it's more fluid. Whereas if you play Højlund and Rashford, it's kind of more rigid because they're kind of stuck into their patterns of play. Højlund wants to run in behind and Rashford wants to go on the transition. Yeah, for better or worse, it could work. Yeah, so I feel but having both options isn't a bad position to be in. Yeah, 100%. Even though they do, for me, I think they provide similar things. Obviously, respectively, they're their own players, but they provide the same attacking behind sort of threat. And I think when it comes down to it, United might have to choose between the two. Unfortunately, that's how it might be. I mean, Rashford's been linked to PSG for God knows how long. Yeah. And I can see him in a PSG kit. Yeah. I mean, you might have seen the edits online and stuff of him in a PSG kit. I feel like that's a transfer that makes sense. Yeah. If you know what I mean. Yeah. I do see it. But one person I do want to give some huge praise to as well. Manu did exactly what we said he would when he went into that midfield. Yeah, he just controls it. I remember we were literally discussing this last week. We were saying without a doubt, we see what they're going for. Eriksen and Casemiro are probably the wrong fit and player profiles in terms of age profile as well as physical capacity. Yeah, yeah. Manu looks built for that 6 to 8 role in the double pivot. The best thing is he's not even he's still a kid. He's not even filled out yet. So once he gets a bit more size than him, he fills out, gets some muscle. He's gonna be a proper. Yeah. He's gonna be a force in. There's gonna be an engine in that midfield. Because one of the biggest criticisms of his game is that he's a bit, not flimsy, but in aerial duels and 50-50s. He's not 4 foot. He's 5'9", something like that, 5'10", yeah. But he's got that strength, he's got that core strength, and if you look at Salah, Kante, that's all you need sometimes. You just need that core strength and you need... Low centre of gravity and a bit good balance. That can be the difference. Kovacic is another player like that. I think Manu's got it. Yeah, because then you've got Manu in that midfield who's the artist, and then you've got Ugarte who's just the no-nonsense, kind of dog doing the dog work in that midfield, and it makes... Keep it solid. It makes sense. But one thing that I'm thinking is, how's Bruno going to fit into that team? That's the question mark, because that's, for me, when I'm looking at this squad now, I'm thinking to myself, Bruno's too good to leave out, obviously, but what part of your system or your structure do you sacrifice to make that work?
Yeah.
What Amrin's been saying in like to the media and stuff has been he wants to get United playing away where they keep the ball a lot more because they lose it too much. And when I heard him say that, the first thing I thought of was Bruno Fernandes because he's the biggest culprit when it comes to losing the ball.
He loves a risky pass.
Yeah, he loves like a low XG like pass. Do you know what I mean? There's another team that things are looking up for as well, which is your team, LDP Chelsea.
Indeed.
You took 3 points against my team Villa this week. So, you know, I'm not
Good
too
job,
happy
I'm
to
in the
talk
middle
about
there.
that.
Just
Yeah,
Mediate, bro, mediate.
yeah, we need you to mediate, man.
Yeah,
But,
that was... You know what, let me hear your thoughts first.
I'd say Chelsea was showing signs of getting back to their best. Like, their players were just in the flow of it and, like, purring almost, just doing everything, like, second nature. And from a Villa fan, talking from a Villa perspective, we just looked a bit toothless in front of goal, in all honesty. I mean, Watkins had them 2 chances in front of goal, and Watkins of last season would have buried it, whereas this season, like, there was no venom in the shot.
No.
He just hit it straight at Sanchez.
like passing it to him kind of thing.
Yeah, and other than that, I can't really tell you any other chances that we had. And especially, like, Pau Torres, Jackson just gave him a torrid time. Like, we're just on him every single time he was on the ball. He was like the press trigger, wasn't he? So I guess Enzo had a better game plan.
I was going to say exactly that. I think game planning is probably the biggest thing because obviously one of the things Pau Torres was brought in for was to be the player who helps transition you out of the back into your midfield, into your attack and so on. And we set up so smartly to create pressure on you anytime the ball came towards him or towards Martinez. Instantly, the entire shape of our team just pushed you into a corner, and it showed. We made cracks, and your team broke under him a few times. I was shocked.
Yeah, and this is exactly what we was on about last week when we was on about playing out from the back, and how like Robert Sanchez was like struggling to do it at sometimes, like under pressure, but Martinez in all the Villa defences.
Yeah, Martinez could have given away like 2 goals in that game.
Yeah,
An indirect free kick. When do you even see those happen?
But Martinez has always been like that. He's always been like, he's good on the big occasion, but just like on a...
Like when he passed it to
day-to-day.
Jackson, like he literally...
I'm surprised Jackson didn't score that. He
Yeah.
just kicked it first time, but, you know.
But yeah, like, I guess if I was going to give my key takeaways from the game, I think one of the things really does hammer in what you mentioned in regards to Ollie Watkins not making the most of that chance. When we were discussing the Leicester game last week, as well as other games before this, Chelsea always give a team a side. They always give them an opportunity to score against us. We're too easy to cut through at times, even when we are playing well. And Villa didn't make use of that, which is scary to me. Amazing for Chelsea, because it means that we now come away from one of the first clean sheets we've had all season.
Yeah.
And I don't think we deserved the clean sheet. I just think that you guys gifted us a clean sheet.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I had Sanchez in my fantasy for the longest time, and I took him out last week, and then he decided to keep a clean sheet. So against my club as well, like I should have seen it coming. But yeah, literally, for what you were saying about Aston Villa's, like the chances that you lot gave to us, I think there's really one main culprit, and that was Fofana. Like, for some reason, he kind of lost his composure.
Well, he literally injured himself by losing his composure. But I think that it was so frustrating to see, because he's clearly still got the physical sharpness, which is shocking after a big injury like he's had. He could have come back and looked off the pace, could have looked like he was lacking physicality, but none of that. It's just decision-making is the thing he's struggling with. And then, as a result of that, lack of confidence in himself, lack of confidence in the back line, and then something like that happens where he gets turned around, doesn't control the ball properly, and isn't fully concentrating, and has the most occupational hazards that a footballer can have. Who injures himself by stepping on the ball?
Yeah, exactly. Like, it doesn't really happen.
But obviously the key thing is it's a shame for him. Hopefully it's not a major injury. Hopefully he'll bounce back, because he was in good form before this game.
You're in a lucky position where you've got, like, you don't really have a set centre-back partnership, so you can kind of switch and change, and especially when you're playing against a Villa who's not really up for it nowadays, you can kind of experiment, kind of see what works.
Thankfully
maybe bring in
so.
extra players.
Having Tosin on our bench in the rotation around the first team is great. I think he's a really solid centre-back. I don't think he's spectacular, but I think he's really good.
He'll do the job for now.
Yeah. Badiashile surprised me. I expected when he came on, I thought he was going to be a calamity, because
he usually is.
I'm about to say, unfortunately, he has a reputation for it that he's creating for himself, because I've said, and I stand by it, he's a quality player there's a quality player in there, but his own just brain-dead moments is sabotaging him, because he has the physical prowess, he's quick despite his size, he's really good as a passer, And sometimes his defending's really good,
Yeah,
but it's too
He
infrequent.
just lacks concentration every now and then.
Concentration is the key thing for the Chelsea team as a whole, I think.
Yeah.
But this was the most mature performance I've seen from Chelsea. The closest I can say to having a cohesive squad performance where everyone gave a pretty good account of themselves. Nicholas Jackson continues to keep on improving despite having a few too many lapses.
That was a tidy finish from him.
Yeah, the first one.
It was on his weaker foot, wasn't it?
It was a left-footed finish, deflected half volley.
Yeah.
Great work from Cucurella to progress the ball up into that position.
Yeah, Cucurella again.
Proving himself, which is again great to see. I think this match as a whole is, like I said, really mature performance. I think a lot of the players who had criticisms around them before this.
I have a theory about Cucurella actually. Like, I feel like he's only hated because he looks ridiculous when he's running.
Yeah.
I completely agree. I was watching the game thinking to myself the same thing.
Yeah, like
if you didn't have such a ridiculous hair, you just look at him and say, yeah, it's a solid.
Yeah,
That's why he got bullied in the Euros, ain't it?
exactly. Like, because he loves to get into like a 50-50 and, you know, challenge for the
And the
ball.
hair's flying
and he finish it and he's just gone flying all over the place and he just looks comical. You're thinking like, just get a buzz cut and you'll be good. And no one will say anything to you. People will maybe respect you a bit more. But
maybe all the power's in the hair, bro.
yeah, exactly. Maybe that's just his brand and that's his image. But, you know, regardless of what his hair looks like, he's proven that he's actually he's worth the price point. Like we said last week, and he's kind of proven since the Euros and the start of the season, like he is that left back, your left back going into the future. If only you can get Reece James to kind of get back to his best.
But speaking of fullbacks, and one of the most interesting talking points of this game was Caicedo starting at right back.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how much you guys might have seen in like in terms of obviously watching the game and pay attention. I'm a big fan of watching the game through whoever your sixes are. I love like understanding the game based on how the midfield's set up as a result.
You must love like Sergio Busquets then.
Oh,
right?
Honestly, it was because of people like Busquets and obviously slightly different, but people like Matic, watching the way that they played, taught me so much about the game.
Yeah.
But one of my favourite things about this particular match, we had Caicedo starting at right back initially, but then as soon as the ball progressed into one of the centre-backs, Caicedo comes around and acted as a six, so it became a double six of Lavia, Caicedo, Enzo alongside Palmer, and then obviously Sancho and Neto.
So kind of like inverted.
It basically became like a 3-2-2-1.
You're essentially overloading the midfield.
Yeah.
And
Massively,
just getting
yeah.
men in there,
but with such intricate uses of half spaces, obviously you've heard the Pep idea of you've got your quarter spaces, you've got your half spaces, and so on.
Yeah.
And we really utilised the freedom of movement and the different of layers, where Palmer's somewhere between a 10 and a striker, allowing Jackson to just be an out-and-out like striker, getting behind and creating space. Enzo's operating as almost like the number 10, coming from 8 to 10.
Yeah. It's like a mix between 8 and 10 almost.
Lavia's operating 6 to 8, and then Caicedo's operating between fullback and 6, and I'm just like, this is so intelligent.
It's fluid, right? And it felt that way as well, because I remember watching, I was just looking at McGinn, I was thinking, this man is outclassed, like, these guys are out, they're a level above him, if that makes sense. And like one person who really shined that game for me was Enzo Fernandez.
I was so happy to see him have a performance like that, especially
that finish that he had was great. One touch on the left and then on the outside of the right, like that's elite. That's an elite goal right there.
Great play from Lavia into Palmer into Enzo, but that finish was beautiful. Thing of beauty. And seeing him, obviously he's been under flack for so long. He's £100 million
Everyone was saying that as soon when he signed for Chelsea,
And
with Sameeul, really, I mean, we put in like 100 million for him ourselves.
You did.
Yeah, but he kind of showed even the last couple of games he's been showing his worth. Like when you can display like technical like prowess to that level, and if you can do that consistently, I mean, he's gonna pay off that price tag.
I hope so.
Before you know it.
I really hope so, because the only thing that's lacking from his game, in my opinion, has been intensity and similarly, again, concentration. But because the technical ability is undoubtable. His passing quality is brilliant. His vision for a pass is great as well. And now Maresca seems to be trying to really instill in him, like, you're good as a deep line player, whatever else, but forget all that. Get further forward. Get involved in the play as the attack's happening, and make stuff happen. And 2 goals in 2 games is a great start towards that.
And one person who had to get his final word in as well was Cole Palmer, who people kind of not really forgot about, but he hasn't been on the score sheet as much. And he kind of scored that goal at the end, like I'm still here, guys. Like, remember me? I'm still
about and all that. But that's the thing. I think one of my favourite things, again, watching this season is seeing us become less reliant on Cole Palmer, because everyone else is able to contribute as a team, more so than just being everything through Cole Palmer and other people get to contribute where they can. This is very much a case of Palmer was instrumental to this win, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, of course.
And obviously we won because of his goals and assists, but also not just because of his play.
Yeah, like if he wasn't there, then maybe someone else could have filled in
probably
that.
still
He could have
might
got a
have
goal
won.
from somewhere else. Maybe.
Exactly that. And as a whole, the whole team is more creative, meaning that when teams do try and isolate Palmer out of a game,
Yeah, you got more
everyone else
answers?
contributes.
Yeah, 100%.
Cool,
yeah.
you blocked him out of the game. Sancho might get you 2 assists in that game.
Yeah.
You've blocked him out. Neto might get you a goal and an assist.
Yeah, 100%.
And even if no one else contributes, Jackson might still get you something
Yeah.
right now. And it's so fun to see.
It kind of annoys me that somehow, like within the space of 1 year, Chelsea always find a way to make it work. when other people just don't have that luxury, I guess.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what it is. Maybe I think it's the demands from the fan base, because I feel like as Chelsea fans, you lot are really demanding of
We
like your
expect great
standards.
things. We do.
Yeah,
Or the
For
fact
good
that the
reason.
owners made it, yeah, is that not?
yeah, that's one as well. But even then, it's not as easy as that.
Yeah.
You see how United spend so much money and they can't seem
Yeah,
to
they
get it
can't,
right.
yeah.
Whereas
Without a doubt, we've been lucky.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, a scattergun approach can either work or massively go bust. We've been lucky that people like Jackson have worked out as well as we did, despite not having many expectations. Same for Palmer, couldn't have predicted him being as good as he has.
Caicedo coming good.
Caicedo developing into what he's becoming. Lavia being able to come back from injury and still being as good as he was looking like he was when he was at Southampton. People like Gusto, again, being under radar signing, being as good as he is. People like Gabriel Vega being, again, 12 million from Basel, who's just an absolutely great squad contributor.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely an element of our later recruitment since 2022 has started to get a bit better gradually.
Yeah.
But there's just a huge element of we've been fortunate that we decided to buy some really good players, and finally we've got a manager who seems to have a good idea of how to get tactical intricacies that benefit the player profiles you've got.
I wanted to get I want to get your thoughts on one thing, Louis, was the post-match interviews from Palmer and Maresca. Well, there was that funny one from Palmer. Where they
Yeah,
asked
he's don't need media training. Like, just leave him as he
they
is.
just asked him what was your favourite thing about the game.
I think
Three
he's
points.
pure brilliance. He's genius.
Yeah.
3 points.
I think
A man of many words.
I
yeah.
think he's just a simple man. He doesn't overcomplicate it, and that kind of you can see that in his game as well.
Yeah.
He doesn't overcomplicate. He does what needs to be done. But now, what I'm on about was the reporter asked them, "Are you like title contenders now? You're striving for the title?" Because on the surface, looking at the table, it looks like you are. But both Enzo and Palmer said, "No, it's too early for that. We're not ready for that." What do you think about that?
So for me, if you ask Pep Guardiola that when they're in 5 points ahead, he'll still tell you they're not title contenders. Okay. I think it's for the best for a team, no matter what. Keep your expectations low. Keep your team focused on the next match, and that's what Maresca's policy has been all season. Anything after the next game is irrelevant because you're not there yet. You don't know what players are going to be ready and whatever else. Especially in the context of where Liverpool are at this season, we're not title contenders. Liverpool, no one else is right now except Liverpool.
You think it's like a diplomatic answer just to kind of get pressure off them?
I think it's a bit of politics, a bit of like a bit of football politics in that, to make sure your team doesn't get too egoistic, to make sure that the expectation and pressure from the outside isn't too big on you either.
Yeah, 100%.
Because as soon as you come out there and start saying anything like you're the special one or anything like that, as soon as you fail to prove that every single time,
that takes a different level of cojones to come out like Jose Mourinho.
like, all
just
love
say
to
that,
Mourinho for that, but like as soon as you create those expectations, you're out there saying to everyone that your players are the best players in the league, that you've got legends and leaders in your team. When Mourinho made those statements in 2004, 2005, you can make those statements when you've got players who are on the cusp or already at those levels.
Yeah, 100%.
We've got players who in this squad are proving themselves
still
to be these players.
developing. Yeah, it can affect their development if you maybe
Massively.
jump the gun a bit too much.
And even as I'm saying, we've got so many things right in these 13 games. What is it, like 8 wins or something like that in that time, or I'm not sure how many.
I'm looking at your last 5 Prem games. You've got 3 wins and 2 draws.
But yeah,
So
it's like
it's a
7
good
wins
reflection.
and however many draws and 2 losses in that time. I think there's a long way to go. We could easily have a blip like Arsenal have had if we lose Cole Palmer or if we lose any of the other
Even
key
Nick
contributors.
Jackson or someone like
Yeah,
that.
if we lose any of the key contributors, we could go through a slump similar to what City are going through. And again, we can't exclude the fact that City have had to lose 4 games on the bounce for Chelsea to be ahead of them by what, 2 points? Or 3 points?
2 points just about.
So, like, for me, we're not title contenders, and that's not a slight on the squad. I think the standards are still too high at the top of the Premier League, and we're still too early in our development. So I'm all right with it.
Yeah, 100%. But no, speaking of the table, just looking at the table here, we literally end the game week with Liverpool being first, 34 points, 9 points clear of second, Arsenal, who have 25 points.
Level on points with Chelsea.
Arsenal and Chelsea, the
Arsenal
exact
and Chelsea
same
are level
records,
on.
yeah.
But like we were saying before, what makes Arsenal title contenders and Chelsea not title contenders? But it's just a different stage.
Proven credentials and literally that stages in your development.
Yeah.
Arsenal still have to look themselves as title contenders, otherwise their cycle's failing. We're at the start of our cycle.
Yeah, and then after that, there's like a clear distinction between 4th and 5th. You got Brighton somehow a 4th, like not flying under the radar. You got Welbeck doing good. You got João Pedro playing good as well. So they're just Brighton, aren't they? You know, they're gonna put in good performances, and their players are gonna, the academy players are gonna come out of nowhere. You know, put their prices up, and all these things are gonna happen. But they're gonna they're gonna finish the season like 6th, 7th.
Yeah.
Not even getting a European spot, but
Not likely.
yeah, but having a good cash out in the summer, just selling all their players and stuff. And then we got City 5th. Surprisingly, 4 losses in a row. It's over for them, right? It has to be. And
It's too early to say, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's too early to say.
Too early to say. You never know.
At the moment, it's not looking good, bro.
It's not looking good,
Yeah.
bruv. It's not looking good.
And other key places in the league, you got Spurs 7th, who just fluctuate on a weekly basis.
I think I said last week, I think Spurs will stay at either 7th or 8th. I don't think they're making Europe, but I think they have enough to keep themselves in the upper.
They have the quality for sure, and they've got the funds, the good tactics, the managers, stuff like that to keep them there and thereabouts.
Nottingham, just want to mention, credit to them. I find it amazing every time I look in the table and see them above 8th. I'm like, I want to know how long it will last. Is it an elephant in a tree situation where they're up there but they can't stay up there? Or is it they actually are turning a corner? Hopefully they can.
Yeah, hopefully. And then you got United 9th.
Wild cards. Who knows?
I think they're on the climb up.
I'm about to say, they're my wild cards. They're the ones who I'm not even going to stick a prediction with.
Yeah, I mean, they could maybe finish top 4 if they're lucky, or they could just stay where they are.
You never know. New manager bounce, young, exciting squad with enough talent in it and enough key contributors who could make some differences. We'll see.
Yeah, and then you got Villa 12th, which I'm not going to speak too much
I'm
about.
not talking about it.
I'm not going to speak too much about that.
Fascinating season, though, isn't it? Whenever is there this kind of congestion all the way through the table? Other than obviously at the very top, anything from 2nd, in my opinion, through to about 12th is fair game. Just mental. If
between 13th and 6th, if any one of those team wins, it takes them up. Yeah. So 13th, if they win a game, they go to 6th.
Yo-yo season. I find it absolutely fascinating. I'm loving it.
It's crazy.
It's great for the Prem.
It is great for the Prem. And the thing is, as well, there's so much different stars shining in this Premier League season. Yet you don't know who's gonna get you points on fantasy. Let's say, do you know what I'm trying to say? So it's hard to kind of gauge who's doing well and who's not doing well.
I do want to add one more thing we really should keep an eye on this season. Probably the most important thing. I want to start a counter for João Felix random slide tackles. He got himself another yellow card this week for a challenge where he literally scissor kicked someone, had no chance of getting the ball. The ball was already gone, and he just comes in with another diving challenge. I'm like, Simeone's probably just somewhere in the stands like,
that's my son. Yeah, exactly.
So every week where I see one of those from João Felix, I'm gonna add that one in there. We're on a 2-week counter so far of 2 episodes.
Yeah, exactly. I reckon it's gonna reach 38. I'm not even joking.
Red card in 2 games as well.
All right, guys, that's all we have time for today. Thanks for tuning in to The Beautiful 90. Make sure to like and subscribe this video, and you'll see us more on YouTube. Thanks for watching, guys.